Hello. I thought I'd come on today and make a video about triggers because I know that's a really big topic at the moment with the Scorpio new moon, which can be bringing up lots of different things for us. And I actually went through some big triggers myself this week. So it was actually a few days ago, and I was upset with my partner for something, but I hadn't really spoken to him about it. So I went to bed and I couldn't sleep, and I basically decided to go and sleep on the sofa because I couldn't get to sleep. And when I went on the sofa, a lot of different feelings came up for me. I started to feel really rejected, and some triggers came up for me, and they were things that I thought that I dealt with years ago and that I didn't really experience triggers around anymore. So I have to tell a bit of backstory here, that when I was in my 20s, I was in a relationship that was quite abusive, not in a physical way so much, but more that he was very possessive and the way that he would speak to me. And one of the things that he would do was to make me sleep on the bedroom floor. And it feels really embarrassing to tell you that, actually. And yeah, it seems awful looking back that at the time I put up with that and I stayed in a relationship that was like that. And looking at the reasons why that was has been part of my healing journey. But at that time, what would used to happen would be that we would go out for a night and he would become jealous about something, and it could be something very innocent. He thought I might have looked at another man or spoken to a man, or that the way I'd acted had offended him in some way, and it would start a huge row, and then it would end up with me being told to sleep on the bedroom floor. And the next day he would cry and we would make up. And he'd say that wasn't going to happen again. And it was kind of stuck in this toxic cycle. And anybody who's been in an abusive relationship will recognise that toxic cycle that I'm talking about. So I've got a bit dry lips. So anyway, I've had a lot of I've done a lot of work over the years, lots of different types of healing work and counselling, all sorts of body work, energy work, and things like that. And I got to a stage where I didn't really feel those triggers that I used to feel, because when I used to sleep on that bedroom floor, I felt worthless, I felt alone, I felt unloved, I felt unwanted, and I felt that in some way I deserved that. There were some really deep things going on for me. And that kind of manifested in various different relationships with men, also in other relationships, in friendships, in jobs. It was just something that was really getting reflected back to me all the time. Then more recently, I really kind of got to a stage where I felt like those triggers were not there anymore. I used to actually believe those things about myself. These days, I don't believe those things. I've really changed my self-concept. And one of the major things that has helped me to do that is through mindfulness. It's through having the ability to see thoughts and realise that they're not true, and to be separate from those thoughts. Whereas I used to live in the thought of I am unloved, I am unwanted. I believed that thought. Now, if that thought comes up for me, which it actually doesn't really very often now, but if it does, I can see it as a thought, not as my reality. So anyway, back to the story of this week. So what actually happened was I went to sit on the sofa, to lay on the sofa rather, and I was trying to sleep there, and these feelings came up that reminded me of when I used to sleep on the floor. And I started to have the thoughts, I'm unwanted, I'm not loved. And so I actually did some journaling. I wrote a list of what was coming up for me, the triggers in that moment, and they were those things. It was nobody wants me, I'm alone in life, all these kind of thoughts that were coming up for me, and feelings. And I wrote them down, and I was like, wow, they're still inside me. These things have come up again. And but I was able to recognise that this is not true. These are feelings from the past that are coming up, but actually My partner hasn't asked me to sleep on the floor. My partner hasn't treated me that way. I've come to the sofa myself. I chose to go to the sofa, and I'm not unwanted and I'm not unloved. And even if my partner had asked me to go to the sofa or sleep on the floor, I still would be loved, because that's a choice within myself. And so I was really able to recognise that in that moment, and it really helped me to, one, it was a bit shocking that those triggers had come up again, but also I was able to see that I don't live in that place anymore. I'm able to detach myself from those kinds of thoughts and feelings. And so the next day I went to a cafe and I just sat down with my journal, and I spent time looking at all those things that had come up and writing the opposite of them, writing affirmations. I am loved, I am wanted, I am not alone, I'm supported by the universe, I'm supported by myself, supported by people around me. And just really having that self referencing, that belief in